Quote, Caitlin Clark fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans, I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that.
Imagine this, you just won a national championship, but instead of celebrating, you're crying on camera. That's exactly what happened to Angel Reese.
Quick hitter number 2, WNBA Player of the Week. There have only been 40 triple-doubles in the history of the WNBA.
Let's talk about why she's so upset and how Caitlin Clark fits into all this drama. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Angel Reese, the star player who led her team to victory, broke down in tears during an interview. She said she hasn't had peace since winning the championship. That's insane, right? You'd think she'd be on top of the world. But here's the crazy part. She's been getting slammed by experts and fans alike. People are calling her classless and worse. And it's not just about basketball anymore. There's something deeper going on here. You know what's crazier? Caitlin Clark, Reese's rival on the court, is somehow mixed up in all this too. So what's really happening between these two star players? Why is Angel Reese so emotional? And how does Caitlin Clark fit into this wild story? Let's dive in and find out. You've seen the highlights, but there's more to this rivalry than meets the eye. Remember that championship taunt? It wasn't just trash talk. It was the beginning of a firestorm that would change women's basketball forever.
Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark and the Fever's fan base. Take a look at what Angel Reese had to say about that. But when it comes to death threats, like I'm talking about people who have come down to my address, following me home, multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me naked, literally.
And you won't believe how it's impacting the WNBA. Let's rewind to that infamous moment. Angel Reese, fresh off winning the NCAA championship, points at her ring finger and taunts Caitlin Clark. It was intense, it was raw, and it set off a chain reaction that nobody saw coming. The internet exploded. Fans and experts alike were divided. Some people praised Reese's competitive spirit, while others, well, they weren't so kind. They called her classless and worse. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark? She was getting showered with praise for her performances and attitude throughout the tournament. It's like the basketball world suddenly split into two camps, Team Reese and Team Clark. And it didn't stop there. The rivalry followed them right into the WNBA. Picture this. Reese and Clark face off in a pro game. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Suddenly, Reese commits a flagrant foul on Clark. The refs call it unnecessary contact to the head. The crowd goes wild. Social media lights up like a Christmas tree. But here's where it gets really interesting. After the game, Reese doesn't back down. She looks straight into the camera and says it was a basketball play. She even throws some shade at the refs, blaming them for how the game turned out. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so two players don't like each other. What's the big deal? Well, hold on to your hats, because this rivalry is doing something nobody expected. It's making the WNBA more popular than ever.
Clark scored her 103-point shot this season, becoming just the 6th woman to do so and first in her rookie season.
That's right. The league is seeing record viewership numbers. People are tuning in just to watch Reese and Clark go head-to-head. It's like the whole country is caught up in this drama, and they can't look away. But here's the thing, this rivalry isn't just about basketball anymore. It's exposing some deep-rooted issues in women's sports. Think about it. Why is Reese getting so much heat for her competitive behavior? Why is Clark being put on a pedestal? Is it just about their actions on the court? Or is there something else going on here? These questions are forcing us to take a hard look at how we view women athletes. Are we holding them to different standards than men? Are we comfortable with women showing the same intensity and competitiveness that we celebrate in male athletes? And let's not forget about the money. This rivalry is bringing in viewers, sponsors, and cold, hard cash to the WNBA. It's proving that women's sports can be just as exciting, just as profitable as men's sports. And that's huge. So yeah, Reese and Clark might not be best friends, they might not even like each other, but their rivalry is doing more than just entertaining us. It's challenging our perceptions, sparking important conversations, and maybe, just maybe, changing the game forever. This rivalry isn't just about points on the scoreboard anymore. It's about dollars and cents too. And one of these players just hit a jackpot that's sending shockwaves through the sports world. How much money are we talking? Let's just say it's enough to make some NBA stars jealous. Caitlin just landed a mind-blowing $28 million in endorsement deals. That's right, $28 million. It's like she's playing a whole different game off the court. This isn't just a win for Clark, it's a game changer for women's sports. Now, you might be thinking, what about Angel Reese? Well, here's where things get tricky. While Clark's cashing in big time, Reese is struggling to build her brand. It's like night and day between these two. Clark's got companies lining up to work with her, while Reese is still trying to get her foot in the door. But let's talk about what's happening on the court. Clark just dropped 35 points in a game, and it was something else. She was on fire, hitting shots from everywhere. You'd think everyone would be impressed, right? Well, not Angel Reese. She called it luck. Can you believe that? It's like she can't give Clark any credit. And it's not just Reese who's noticing Clark's success. Stephen A. Smith, the guy who always has something to say about sports, he came out and said, Caitlin Clark is in a completely different league. Ouch. That's gotta sting if you're Angel Reese. You gotta wonder, is all this success getting to Reese? Is that why she's been so emotional lately? It's like every time Clark does something amazing, Reese has to respond. But here's the thing, Clark isn't playing into it. When asked about the rivalry, she said, I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. Talk about taking the high road. It's crazy to think about how different things are for these two players right now. Clark's riding high, breaking records on the court and in endorsements. Meanwhile, Reese is struggling to keep up, both in terms of performance and popularity. It's like they're playing two different games. But here's what's really wild. This whole situation is shining a spotlight on women's basketball like never before. People are tuning in to watch these two play, whether they're on the same team or facing off against each other. The WNBA is getting more attention than ever, and a lot of it is because of this rivalry. So yeah, Clark might be $28 million richer, but in a way, the whole league is winning. More eyes on the game mean more opportunities for everyone. Maybe this is exactly what women's basketball needed to finally get the recognition it deserves. You think this rivalry is just about who's the better player? Think again. There's a bigger game being played here, and it's exposing some ugly truths about sports that go way beyond the basketball court. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, race and gender. It's not just about Reese versus Clark anymore. It's about how we treat women athletes, especially women of color. And let me tell you, it's not pretty. Remember when Reese taunted Clark during the NCAA championship? Some people lost their minds. They called her classless and worse. But here's the kicker. When Clark did similar stuff, people cheered. It's like they're playing by different rules. And it's not just fans. Even big-name coaches are getting in on it. Coach Gino Auriemma went after Reese, saying, I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back, so she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets it. Ouch! That's harsh, right? But Reese isn't taking it lying down. She's fighting back, but maybe not in the best way. After games, she's been blaming the refs a lot. She said, I can't control the refs. They affected the game obviously a lot tonight. It's like she's trying to shift the blame away from herself. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so Reese is getting criticized. What's the big deal? Well, here's where it gets real. This isn't just about Reese. It's about how we treat black female athletes in general. Reese said it herself. I don't fit in the box that you all want me to be in. I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. That's heavy stuff. She's basically saying that people are judging her, not just for her game, but for who she is as a person. And you know what? She might be right. Think about it. How often do you see black female athletes getting slammed for being too aggressive or not ladylike enough? It's like they're expected to be fierce competitors, but only in a way that makes everyone comfortable. This whole situation is shining a light on some big problems in sports. It's not just about who scores more points or wins more games. It's about who gets to be themselves without being judged. It's about who gets second chances and who doesn't. And it's not just affecting Reese and Clark. This is bigger than them. It's about every girl who's dreaming of being a pro athlete. What message are we sending them? That they have to fit into a certain mold to be accepted. But here's the thing. As messed up as this situation is, it might actually be good for women's basketball in the long run. Why? Because people are talking about it. They're noticing these double standards. And when people notice problems, that's the first step to fixing them. So yeah, this rivalry is changing the game, but not just on the court. It's forcing us to take a hard look at how we treat women athletes, especially women of color. And that's a conversation we need to have if we want women's basketball to keep growing. So, what can we learn from this crazy rivalry? It's not just about who's the better player, it's about how you handle the heat when everyone's watching. Reese is learning the hard way that blaming others doesn't work. She keeps pointing fingers at the refs, but that's not helping her image. Clark, on the other hand, is keeping it cool. She's not getting dragged into the drama, and it's paying off big time. But here's the real kicker. This rivalry is actually good for women's basketball. Yeah, you heard that right. All this back and forth is getting people talking, watching, and caring about the game. It's pushing the sport forward, even if it's messy sometimes. At the end of the day, Reese and Clark are showing us that how you handle pressure matters just as much as how you play. And that's a game changer for everyone.